This video has three goals. Number one, to understand if the people in government work for us. Number two, is the government a business or a garden? And number three, I want to know if you're the boss of your world. How do we become bosses that we could relate with each other of our worlds? So the first goal, to understand if the people in government work for us. It appears what has happened is we get to vote, and this is good. We get to protest, as mentioned in many places, right? If we dislike something, we have this idea of social movements. What about long-term integration of our ideas into the actual infrastructure of our institutions? This is lacking a little bit. It's like we have conversations, but the conversations are usually off balance. They usually don't pay attention to the intricate details of what people need in our local or rural communities. They pay attention more to like these general ideas of what's important to us from dictated from on high, it seems at times. So do the people in government work for us? Yes, but what we've also created is this space where it seems that once you get elected, you could do anything you want, essentially. And this is a problem because with today's technology, there's absolutely no reason we can't have a website, a list of key policies, and for us to pick and choose exactly what's important for this society, or at least for us to have basic awareness of what our leaders are doing. It seems it's like an empty space almost, one which we're in essence not allowed into because other people like to have this space in order to have flexibility in terms of how they design and discuss and orient this society. And this seems to be developing into a problem, especially if you have divergent interests. So maybe you have corporate interests, maybe you have personal interests. But what about, this idea of e pluribus unum, which we talked about last time, where the integrated interest of our entire society, where you actually make choices not on the desire to gain a result, but the fact that they're extremely important for the evolution of our local, regional, and global communities. So I think this is where we have some gray area in terms of understanding if people in government actually work for us or not. Or do they work for themselves? Or do they work for special interest groups? Or do they work for the people which appeal to their direct needs and the way, they think the same as they do? And these are things which, if you take a look at a society as a whole with diverse perspectives, these things have to be integrated for the actual policies of our government to be exact and precise with our needs. So the second question which comes to mind, the second goal is the government business or garden? Very frequently you hear business, right? Recently we saw how efficiency, through the Department of Efficiency, which was recently created. But it's on the one hand, what is efficiency in business? To have a strong leader, to have the policies enacted throughout the infrastructure, to make sure there's loyalty to the vision of that business. This completely makes sense in a business setting because you have to operate with resources that are getting you someplace to realize your vision. And this doesn't mean that governments don't have visions. It means governments have multiple visions, hundreds of visions, thousands of visions that they have to enact in order to perform. So the basic question of this goal for governments is more akin to a garden, let's say. So when I was a small boy, I would have to walk with my grandma through the garden. That's what I would do. I would have to dig around the tomatoes, dig around the peppers. I'd have to make sure the little pathways kind of work. I'd have to water every night. But I also have to do something else. I also, if the rain comes or if a storm comes, I have to make sure that the things that could break don't go into disrepair. And it's something that you either have to right, develop extra resources to, or something that you have to store in the garage. So this is kind of how government works. It's more of a garden, because you're looking at different local regions, different communities, and you see that there's something missing. If it's falling into disrepair, well, you have to do something about it. You have to invest in it. You have to create the conditions for it to be effective, and so it doesn't break down. This is a responsibility, actually, of government, to create institutional infrastructure so that we're able to generate the most potential from the citizens of a society. So these citizens, us, can have, from start to finish, we could have the best opportunities to make these places flourish. This is the goal of government. This is actually a long idea. It's the social contract. But there's something to watch out for. And I think this is where a lot of our controversies exist in our society, is this relationship. Do we need a lot of government, or do we need little government? And it's actually like it's a very old philosophical question. So John Locke is like, so we need government, and then this other philosopher, Hobbes, is more like we have to worry about this thing called the Leviathan. So the Leviathan is, right, government becomes so intense, so all over the place, that it actually takes away our liberty. Whereas John Locke's idea, is more so government is the necessity of organizing our common interests in a common conversation to meet our needs. So, right, this is a critical question, too much or too little. But one thing that we could agree with on, though, is that definitely we do need government. Definitely we need a social contract. And definitely do we want people who fulfill the expectations of their contract within this relationship between us. So this is something to that we see having impact on our on our political ideologies and the way they impact our daily lives. Is this constant friction, more or less, yes or no? But essentially, the basis is government is there because it takes us away from a wild state of nature. It creates, if run appropriately, the opportunity for us to have stable islands of stability, so that when people come to the United States, they're like, oh, that place is comfy. Well, it's great to be in a comfy place, isn't it? Because you get to think, you get to do other things, you get to excel, you get to develop yourself. So this becomes part of this equation of its importance. But are you the boss in this world, though? Goal number 3 for this discussion. How are your ideas taken into consideration? Do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel anything that you say is actually being implemented? Or do you feel that you're more so reacting to what somebody else says, to what somebody else has already pre-planned for you to think in terms of a Lego? How is your voice and the specific needs of your business, of your family situation, of your local community being channeled upwards into this infrastructure becomes also a question of government. And governments try to do this through some basic ways, right? Census, different types of research that's conducted to find out, polling, what people need, what's important. And then they create different types of platforms by political parties to kind of engage you in that way. But what about the efficiency of you engaging this world and your communities from the discussions which you have generated yourself? That's practically non-existent, isn't it? You get to show up sometimes to talk to a political representative. You get to share ideas that way. But do you actually generate those ideas from your position is a different question. So if you take a look at it, the way it's constructed, you have large corporations, which are also important for what they offer this country in its evolution. But they have strategic offices, people who discuss, plan, and determine the direction of their organization and they have conversations with government in a very active way where they know what they want. And that's the question for how citizens are organized in our society. Do we have the same type of mechanism where we're able to relate to each other in a structured way, where we also state precisely what we want within our communities for the evolution of those communities? And if you think about it, yeah, sure, we could do this, but we're also missing something else. We're also missing the direct knowledge of what precisely is happening from a policy perspective in terms of what the government does. So that's returning to the other question. What exactly, most of us are left wondering, but what is actually being done? But what are these policies? But what do these policies do? Or we don't even know what these policies are if we're far away from this issue. And why in this world of advanced technology do we not have access to a database, right? Or a simple website where we could have each and every policy position by the respective parties or somebody else that we could always refer to as one centralized location for understanding how our society works. This seems a responsibility of government. And the question then is, why would something like this not exist? Well, maybe it hasn't been thought through yet. Maybe the technology has only just arrived. But in some strange way, though, it also serves those people who are aware of how the system is structured and operates. It also gives a space for those individuals to have more influence over other individuals in a society. And if you think about it, this is a weakness for what democracy is. For democracy to be truly resilient, it must be the rules applied to everybody. It must be the generation of the best ideas from our society, from our citizens. It must be the ability to continuously innovate our societal circumstances based on the best minds, the best ideas, and the best strategies for evolution. So this is something it seems we have to work on for citizens to be the boss of our world. But I think key to remember in this discussion is, again, coming back to my grandma, which I really, really enjoyed this time with her, because then she would take home and have a wonderful dinner after the garden, right? But the efficiency is, in this case, is if we see government developing efficiency from a business perspective, this is really something to worry about. Because, yes, you do need efficiency. Yes, business strategic thinking is important in these conditions. Yes, innovation is important in these conditions. But the purpose of business is to make a lot of money. The purpose of business is to create return on investment. The purpose of business is to give shareholders a return on their investment. The purpose of business is so that a leader can take his vision and make sure that it happens. And this is not saying that this is not also important for government. All these conditions in some way are important for government. But the efficiency of government, first and foremost, is the efficiency of implementing the will of the people, the will of the citizens. It's not implementing the will of the CEO. The CEO is there as a public servant to fulfill the requirements that and the privilege that was bestowed upon the CEO to represent the citizens, equal co-citizens within the society, to guide and direct the direction of our world together. And yes, the CEO must have liberty to deal with difficulties as they arise. That's why we hope somebody extremely proficient and a team of proficient leaders using the apparatus of the government and the thousands of people. Where else in the world do we have tens of thousands of people who are giving the best research, the best intelligence, the best information for our leaders to make the best choices possible? And if you think about it, it's also us, this voice, which seems to be a little bit missing, or maybe a lot missing, in terms of the direction of our society and our world. So thank you for this talk today. I hope to learn more from comments which you have. Have a great day.